Hi, hello, my lovely, delicious lot. So today we have got some baking drama from three different accounts. Three different accounts. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole because someone's cake pops were recommended to me. That sounds a bit rude. And I was like, wow, what is this? And so I went down that little rabbit hole.
A lot of people lose their shit when they see I use box cake for my cake pop business, so let's get into it.
And another account got recommended to me because she had to give a refund on this cake, and everyone's saying it's like AI generated, and that actually that was not the original cake. We'll get onto it. And then Brooke Bellamy just comes hopping back online.
While all of these recipes are personal to me, I cannot say that I have invented the cookies, cupcakes, brownies, or cakes in the recipe book. They are all inspired from somewhere and someone before me.
I thought that we would just combine everything Cake-Tok related because I love talking about Cake-Tok because I can't bake. I'm the worst baker. The thing that I love more than anything else in the world is Cake-Tok drama. I absolutely live for it because at the end of the day, we're arguing about cakes. I'm going to start off big and strong because Brooke Bellamy has been a topic on quite a lot of people's I was going to say tongues, but yeah, anyway, she's been a topic on a lot of people's minds as of late. It was Brooke Bellamy versus Nagi, cookbook baking wars. Nagi's actually gone and gotten lawyers involved because she is accusing Brooke Bellamy, who is in charge of Brookie Bakehouse in Australia, of plagiarizing two of her recipes, one of which was a caramel slice.
Please stop the trolling. Now, I know I've made serious allegations, but this does not justify the personal attacks that I've seen online against Brooke Bellamy. I do not support it, and I'm asking you to stop.
It ended really, really messily, and Brooke has basically vanished from the internet for a few weeks now, and she's now finally come back on. If that wasn't mysterious enough, had Brooke's employees, some of which are still working there, some of which have left, or some of which know people that used to work there, who report basically a bad working environment, and it all sprung up on Reddit. And people were even putting in their pay slips just to confirm that yes, they did used to work there, and yes, she wasn't a nice person to work for. I will leave that video linked in the description box if you want to go have a little read, have a little gander. All of this combined has put Brooke in the hot seat. She does come back on, she does make a video. She is still standing 10 toes down on the fact that the recipes that she has, the ones that are being accused of being plagiarized, that those recipes she has gotten inspiration from family members. Food is made for sharing, and ideas and inspiration is made for everyone. I don't know.
So opening my bakery 3 years ago and sharing my life online, I've never had such a long break between videos, but I've also never experienced something like I have over the last few weeks. All my life I've dreamed of owning my own business, and because I love eating sweets and learning how to make them, I opened my bakery a few years ago. Before this, I was traveling the world in search of the best bakeries, and I have been so inspired and influenced by bakeries and bakers the world over. The biggest inspiration in my life is my mum, because I learned to cook and bake with her in the kitchen growing up, and when I was invited to write a cookbook, I was really excited to share all of the recipes that I've been making since I was small. These recipes have been written down on paper, been handed to me by friends and family. They get passed down through generations. They get scaled up and scaled down in the bakery setting. And while all of these recipes are personal to me, I cannot say that I have invented the cookies, cupcakes, brownies, or cakes in the recipe book. They are all inspired from somewhere and someone before me. I never subscribe to be a part of a narrative that pits two women against each other, especially in the same industry. I think there's room for everyone, especially more women in business. That's all I'm gonna say about it, because food for me has and always will be inherently a shared experience. I love sharing my days in the bakery with people from all over the world who maybe one day dream of owning their own business or bakery, and part of that has been sharing the recipes that have shaped me and my career. After a few weeks off to pause and reflect, it's time to get back into the bakery, because this is why I came here in the first place, to share my love for baking with you all.
I do find it really interesting she doesn't mention Nagi whatsoever. She's probably been told just not to mention Nagi. It'll be in the best interest of what is going on behind the scenes with there being lawyers involved and all of that. But I will read some comments, because we have some people who are still firmly on Brooke's side and people who are not so sure. So we have someone saying, Cannot believe the hate this woman is copying. They are recipes for very basic things. You could flick open about 50 cookbooks and find the same recipes. Just because she's made a success out of it, so much jealousy. And quite a lot of people do agree with that. Someone said, they are all inspired from somewhere and someone before me. That is when you give credit where credit is due. Someone else said, okay, thank you for addressing the recipe allegations, although not fully. But hygiene and safety violations and employee mistreatment is a huge issue as well. This comment might get lost in the other thousands, but I really hope this gets addressed. Yeah, because it wasn't just the work environment that was being called out. It was to do with the fact that like the food hygiene wasn't great and the cookies would drop on the floor and then be served to customers, like stuff like that. Can people just make shit up and go on Reddit? Of course they can, which is the reason why I said like allegedly. I said allegedly a lot in that video that I did, because of course, you know, the only thing I was really going off was the fact that some of it was being backed up with pay slips. If you feel like you can't speak out and then a big scandal like this happens and everyone is kind of looking at Brooke sideways a little bit, then of course you're then, if you have been mistreated, you're then going to feel like, hey, we can kind of talk about this now. It's kind of like that kicking them while they're down mentality that, you know, happens. However, you know, if you have been treated really badly, and you want justice in some sort of way, I can understand why you would decide to speak on it then. But then again, you could just be stirring up drama because there already is a lot of drama. So yeah, could be either. Either way, Brooke is back, and yeah, that is all there is to it. She has posted another video, but that is just the video that I'm going to be talking about today.
Make a $1,900 order with me.
There was this lady, right, who appeared on my FYP. This woman and her cake pops, okay, these cake pops have people riled up, like riled up. I've been watching this lady, and the very first one that popped up on my feed was her saying that she was fulfilling a $1,900 order of cake pops. And in this, I watched her whole entire procedure from start to finish. I was like, wow, like they look so good. Like that must take you so long. And it did. It took her a really long time.
A $1,900 order with me. This was for one of my regular corporate clients. They work with me about 2 to 3 times per year, and they always need a lot of cake pops. This order in particular was for 500 vanilla cake pops that they were going to pass out for Small Business Week to all the small businesses in town. What I did, 500 is a lot. I'm just one girl, so I broke this up into 4 different baking days, 125 cake pops per day. I got a head start though, and I froze 250 of them, so I'm going to show you that process first. Vanilla cake straight from the oven into the mixer. For 125 cake pops, so a fourth of the order, I needed 4 extra large vanilla cakes to achieve the 125 cake pops. So I'm getting the dough into the cakesicle molds, inserting the stick, popping those out, and all 125 are then going to be ready to dip. I take white chocolate in these large pitchers. I needed 2 large pitchers per 125 cake pops, so that is a lot of chocolate. Here I am using a mug for dipping. I know you guys always want me to use a larger vessel. Hey, that doesn't work for me. The mug is always going to be where I'm at. I froze 250 cake pops, and then I'm making fresh the other 250 just to help me during the week, just kind of break these up. Here's the additional 125. So you saw 250 white cake pops going into the freezer. Now we're moving on to the 250 blue cake pops. These are also going to be vanilla. So again, we're going to have 2 baking days for these 250 pops. Here I am making more vanilla cake. Again, 4 large cakes. Now I'm using Royal as the color milk color. I have a very big bottle of it. I did this 4 times to achieve this beautiful blue color that you're seeing here. This matches the Banks colors perfectly, so I was really happy. Added on white drizzle lines, white sprinkle balls, and then at the end, I had to package each and every one up so that way I could get a move on to make the other 125 blue pops that you see here. Now that we're done with the blue, I had to go get the whites out of the freezer. So here's what the tub looks like out of the freezer. Remove the cardboard, remove the parchment paper. You can see that just soaked up all the moisture. I let these sit out at room temperature for about 15 hours before I even opened that lid up. That made sure there was no cracking, no condensation. Blue drizzle, no sprinkles for this one. And then here you can see all 500 cake pops all laid out on my counter. I couldn't even fit them all. I was so proud. And then they wanted these boxed up 25 each. So that's what I did next. And let me tell you, friends, this was such a fun order. I love corporate orders, and I really hope you enjoyed this video.
I watched this video and I was in awe. I was like, wow, that looks so nice. And that's dedication. That takes a really long time. Wait, so then tell me why the next video that I saw was her saying, people hate me because I don't make my cake pops from scratch.
Like, people lose their shit when they see I use box cake for my cake pop business, so let's get into it. I needed to make an extra large funfetti cake. The best thing about box cake mix is I don't have to measure out any of the ingredients. I don't need the flour, sugar, baking powder. It's all in the box. So we used one cake mix, and then we used a cup and a little bit extra of another cake mix. So we're trying to make that extra large funfetti cake. Then instead of 3 eggs, I used 4. Instead of a third of a cup of oil, I used a half of a cup and maybe a little bit extra, just so everything is nice and big and fluffy and moist. I'm going to add in a cup of water and probably about a fourth extra, and then we're always going to add in our vanilla. For the purposes of this video, we're just following the instructions on the back of the box. Of course, you can add milk, sour cream, but for you beginners, I just want you guys to be able to do this yourself. So we're going to mix it up by hand. That's my preference, but you do you. And another thing I'd like to note is it would be so expensive if I bought all of these ingredients myself. I make about 200 to 500 or so cake pops a week, depending on the week. So it's just so much easier to pull out these boxes. I get them in bulk for about 79 to 89 cents. See how tall it is? You can see how it baked up so nice. It doesn't matter that the bottom is brown. It's all going to mix up and it's going to have that wonderful flavor. And you cannot tell me different. Box cake mix has wonderful flavor, especially if you're just going to be mashing it up, mixing it up, and putting it into a cake pop mold.
I was like, hold on a minute. You're not making the cake? Even she says that she buys it in bulk and like per cake box mix, which by the way, I use mixers all the time because I can't bake. 70 cents per thingy. She's saying that she can get 35 cake pops out of a single box, and the box is like 70 cents. So you guys can do the math because she did 500 of them for 1900. So my maths is absolutely shocking. There's probably like a good enough deal on that. But anyway, she's making like over $3 something, if I've got my maths corrections, per cake pop. Some people are not bothered by this, and some people are very much bothered by this. It's like the chocolate coated strawberries all over again. Although I will say that this is, I feel like, slightly more technical than the chocolate dunk strawberries that were worth so much money. So someone said, is it normal in America to sell baked goods but not make them from scratch? And Cake by Katie said, why would I make the cake from scratch just to blend it up in the mixer? And some people are like absolutely furious. They're like, I followed you for such a long time and I didn't realize that you used the cake mix with the cake pops. And I'm just like, I can't quite work out how I personally feel about it, because at the end of the day, right, if she's being transparent about it and there are people that want to pay that amount of money, they're gonna do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, she does it with full transparency. It's not like she's hiding it from anyone. And if people want to buy it after knowing this, then I think that's chill. If I was buying someone's cake pops, I wouldn't think that they would be using a mix. That just wouldn't be where I'd come from. But then again, I'm not their target audience. But some people are very heated about it. And I would love to hear everyone's thoughts and feelings on it, because I kind of think it's semi-genius. Because she can charge a lot more money than what she's like paying for in the mix. I can understand why people would be a bit like, what do you mean you do not make the cake pops from scratch?
This is the cake that I'm talking about that I did. And then they sent me this picture saying that there's cake missing.
And we have our third and final person, and this happened I think earlier on this month, so we're a little bit late to it. This woman called Jess Brown Bakes up here, assuming your name is Jess. So she says, a busy mum who's attempting to start up her own cake business. Now, she popped up on my FYP because she said she came to TikTok and she was like, guys, am I in the wrong? I've just refunded this woman a £90 cake, and £90 for the cake that she was making I think is really reasonable if we're considering at-home baking. She comes on and she says, I've just refunded, however I'm completely confused because they sent me a picture of this cake and she was like, I don't understand how it got to that. The cake looks like it's been pushed back. The icing, like, I don't understand how the cake has messed up that badly.
I've had a cake complaint, a real one. This isn't a joke this time, I promise. I had to refund the full £90 and I'm fucking devastated. And also, I don't know how this happened. Like, how the fuck does this happen? So this is the cake. If you saw this video, is my stacking and filling cake. This cake here, okay? Then they sent me this picture saying half the cake's missing. Fuck, does that happen? So I'm sitting there in the car like, how the fuck is, like, I'm panicking, but I'm just like, I've got to refund them this money. Well, I don't have to, but obviously I will. How does that happen? How does that happen when the cake, they're full, my thing is, I reckon that the cake is like, the layers have slid, so then when they've cut that bit, there's a layer missing. Not missing, but it's been pushed across. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be completely transparent with you because that is all I am on this page. They found hairs. They sent me a picture of 2 hairs in the cake. Not my hair, not dog hair, just like 2. I don't know where. I sterilised my entire kitchen. You can see from my videos my kitchen is clean. Everything is prepped properly. Everything is done properly in this kitchen. And these things happen. But I'm just mortified, devastated. Not that I've lost out on money, but that this has actually happened. Just to quickly butt in, the only thing I can think of is, has it come off like a cloth? You know, like, because they were on the board, not in the actual cake. So, like, has it come off of a cloth? I don't know.
And people were actually flocking the comment section and saying, that is not the same cake. That is not the same cake. So people saying, the picture they sent you isn't your cake. And she's saying, it must be. There is no way. Cakes don't do that. And I'm a baker. Did you ask for the cake back? And Jess said, no, it was in the bin. People saying, from a baker, that's not the same cake. And she's like, really? People were absolutely convinced that they'd managed to like AI generate this cake.
That hundreds of thousands of you commented on, all of you saying it's AI. So this is the cake that I'm talking about that I did. And then they sent me this picture saying that there's cake missing. So I then asked for another picture of the cake cut and they sent me this one. So these are 2 cakes pictures I've been sent of the cake. This one and this one. And this is a video of me crumb coating the cake. So can like the cake bakers look and see, because I'm thinking maybe it was like this and then obviously, I don't know. And I'd still give the money back because they found 2 hairs and they sent me pictures of the hairs. And even if the hairs were photoshopped, it's not worth my business to say no and they post over the internet that whatever. But I will be changing to state that they can only get a refund if they return the cake. And I'm just feeling really shit about it.
Someone comes on and they're defending themselves in this video's comment section. They're saying, right, the first picture was the first slice I took and the second was from the other side. I don't have the time to AI, alter it, etc. The cake had hairs in it. As for the comments, it was a cake in Brighton, etc. Get your facts right. I collected this cake on 10th of May. My sister Hendu was in Essex on the 11th. Think the comments about hope her wedding is ruined and that we ate it and hope we all got upset stomach. Not nice comments at all. So she's out here fighting for her life in the comment section because her sister was the one who got married. And I think her sister was Zoe because it popped up on the recommended TikTok thing. Once again, people are severely sus that this is not the same cake and that they basically fleeced them. Now, Jess Brown Bakes seems to believe the customer and did offer a refund. The cake has been refunded. But I don't know. If I see that many people saying that the customer, you know, faked that picture or it's like not the same cake or whoever, whatever, I'm not really sure because I don't know enough about like cakes. But what I will say is that people pulling stunts like that does and can happen. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it past people to do that. But that's just my own opinion.
Listen, I know this is just a TikTok to everyone, but this is my business. This is a mystery and will forever be a mystery. I will never understand how this has happened.
Anyway, that is pretty much all I have to say to you guys today on what is happening in the Cake-Tok drama streets of TikTok. But yeah, I've already said in my community tab, this is a pre-recorded video. I am moving this week, so hence I got dungarees on. I need to start assembling furniture. I've been arguing with the bunk bed for Me and my friend were arguing with the bunk bed for about 5 hours yesterday, and we've managed to get it halfway put up, but we've got this little screw stuck, which is fun. We didn't have the appropriate tools, so we need to go and find the appropriate tools and continue. Honestly, assembling furniture is just not my strong point, but we're gonna get there. Wish me luck. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.